actually find the subsequent sessions that have been done through the KRA TV platform. All right. So then I want to focus on it's called the ITR for employment income only. I want to focus on that particular option today. And I just want to go straight to the iTax portal so that I can show you how to file the returns. And I hope my screen is now visible. I know you can see my screen. This is a test environment. So then the information that is here is solely and purposefully just for the purpose of filing returns. Now, I had initially logged in. So what I want to do is log out so that we can go step by step with you. And I hope you can hear me loud and all right. So this is our iTax page. Those of us that are not familiar with us, remember that KRA no longer does things manually. Everything under KRA as far as return filing is done and also payment is done online through the system. Now, whether you're in employment or whether you are in business, this is the portal that you use to file your returns. For those of us in business, this is the portal to use. And I hope in the course of the year 2023, remember, I mentioned that if you're in business, then that means, and you're a sole proprietor, then it means that you need to have made your payment on or before 30th of April. That goes for those of us who are doing consultancy work, who have accumulated some withholding certificates in the course of the year. That goes for us who are in the insurance field, working perhaps as brokers in the insurance field. You must have received your withholding certificates from your various insurance agencies. Those of us who are engaged in commercial businesses, for example, in the transport industry, perhaps you have you paid advance tax somewhere in the course of the year. Then please ensure that your returns are filed by this month and payment made. So on this iTax portal, on your left-hand side, you see the question, do you have a PIN? I hope we are following together. So you would type your PIN there and then click on continue. And then of course we in password, which I'm doing. And then we go ahead and enter the security stamp. Remember, the security stamp, you can actually just change the equation to one that you feel comfortable responding to. In this case, for me, I think I always look for the simplest. What is 64 plus 10? That should be 74. Okay, and then we click on login. So once you're logged in, this is how your iTax portal would look like. Okay. Now, if you're in employment, it means that you must have obtained a document from your employer that is known as a P9. A P9 is a document that has the summaries of the deductions that were made from you and remitted to KRA in the course of the year 2023. Now, this is the legitimate document that is recognized by KRA in as far as filing your returns are concerned. Now, once you have opened your P9 document, this is the step that you follow. Place the cursor on the returns tab. Then you will see a drop down. Out of the drop down, go to the option written ITR for employment income only. All right. ITR for employment income only. So once you're there, the question will pop up. You will see the type as self that is already auto-filled. There is nothing for you to fill there. The taxpayer PIN will already be filled in for you. The tax obligation will already be auto-filled. So the return period from which was 1st of January 2023 and the return period to 31st of December 2023 will auto-populate. So then on the last question, do you have employment income? You need to select the option of yes, and then you click on next. So once you do that, the system will take you to the next page, which is of interest for us, because that is what we're going to use today to file our returns. Okay, so this is how it looks like. And this is what I want us to focus on. So we have Section A. Section A has basic information, and the basic information section is already auto-filled for you. What we have on the basic information section, under the taxpayer information, we have the taxpayer PIN, return period from, return period to, which is auto-filled. Now, the second section has return information. Now, you will fill it depending on what is applicable to you. For example, has your employer provided you with a car? The options are there. You can choose either yes or no. Do you have a home ownership saving plan? Do you earn income from a foreign country? Do you have a mortgage? Do you have a life insurance policy? And it's not just life insurance. Remember, under insurance, you can claim the 15% insurance relief if you have life insurance, health insurance, and also education insurance policy that is up to 10 years. Now, this is for yourself, for your spouse, and also for your children. And then lastly, have you been issued with an exemption certificate for disability? This is for persons with disability. Though this particular area is grayed out, you would have to fill in the Excel option, because I saw a question much earlier when I started the session today, and there was a question of someone asking that they would want to know how to declare or I touch on something to do with exemptions. So if you're a person with disability, then it means you have that exemption certificate that we know is valid for 5 years. If you have it, then you would use it, but under the Excel option when filing your returns. And then finally, under this section A, we have the bank details. The bank details is in the event that you qualify or you are in a refundable position. Basically, what that means is that after we have filed your returns, when we look at the last section, which is a tax due, then for one reason or another, you have a negative value that appears before it, meaning that you are in a refundable position, okay? So if that happens, then we would have to come in and fill in this particular section. As you can see, it is not active now, but in the event that after we finish computing your returns and you are in a refundable position, you have a negative value, then this particular section will become active and we will fill it. I think I'll do one demonstration just for you so that you can come back and you can come back and see how active it's going to be. Okay. All right. So then this is the details of employment income. And this particular section, remember, will already be auto-filled for you, including the employer's PIN, including the gross pay, including the name of the employer, including any allowances received other than car and housing, including value of car benefit. It will have all this information already auto-filled for you. And below it, you can see the details that are available for you. You will have the employment income details. If you're filing using the Excel option, this is equivalent to the particular section that talks about employment income. The only difference is that now, in this particular case, you do not key it in manually, okay? That value will already be auto-filled by the system because it will be drawn from what your employer has been remitting on your behalf on a monthly basis for the year 2023, all right? So these are details of employment income. And then now we look at the details of the pay deducted from salary, okay? And I just want you to look at the column itself that has the row that has the different columns. It has the PIN of the employer, and then it has the name of the employer, and then it has the taxable salary, okay? Taxable salary. the amount of tax deducted, and the amount of tax payable or refundable. Now, under your P9, these details are available. And you can see the amounts already auto-filled, from the name of the employer to the taxable salary, to the tax that is payable on taxable salary, to the amount of the pay that was actually deducted in the year 2023. Okay? Again, similar to what was on Section F, Section M that has the details of pay deducted, these details are automatically drawn from the iTax system based on what your employer actually remits on your behalf on a monthly basis. All right, hope you're following through with me. Okay, so assuming there were some payments that you might have made in the course of the year and you paid in advance, then this is where you would come to actually enter the amounts that were paid. For one reason or another, you might have paid some amounts in advance to KRA. Then the details, that it includes the PRN number. PRN is the payment registration number, the date of when the deposit was made, and the amount. That is when you would come and enter the details here. And anytime you enter details, remember you have to click on this particular button here written add for it to actually take effect in the system. Okay. So what is of interest for us is actually Section T, and I hope we're together. So under Section T, this is where you come and enter your defined pension contribution, the amount of pension that you are paying for the particular year. And this is normally found in the P9 section. I will display a P9 for you shortly after this so that we can appreciate these particular sections that I am mentioning. But in most cases, if you have your P9 with you, you look at the titles of the columns, look at the column that is written or that is titled defined pension contribution. In most cases, it has the letter E on it, and specifically E2 being the actual contribution. So this is the amount that you would lift from the P9 and come and enter here. So this is up to a maximum of 240,000. That means you cannot go beyond 240,000. This is the maximum, yeah? And just to demonstrate that you cannot go beyond 240,000, assuming I wanted to enter 300,000, you see what error pops up? Yeah. Yes, the error message says pension contribution cannot be greater than 240,000 because you are only allowed up to 20,000 per month, coming to 240,000 in a year. And this is the amount that you enter under the pension contribution. I hope we are together up to that point. Okay. Now, the next amount that is of interest is 1.1a. Now, this is where I'd want you to listen to me very keenly because it defines what makes this year's return different from 2023's return, from last year's return. So remember that we had a revision of the tax bands, yeah? From what was there initially to the addition of the other two bands, that was 30. I hope you can hear me clearly. Sorry about that. So yes, I was mentioning that 1.1a, that is the defined pension contribution. As you can see, it's row number 3, just below where I have entered the 240,000. What is different is that because of the change of the tax bands, now you would have to enter the pension contribution that was for the period between January and June on this particular section here. I think let me just type on it so that you can see. So that, for example, if you are paying up 20,000 per month, for those 6 months, that would come to 120,000. So you would have to type in the pension contribution that was paid for the period of January to June 2023 on this particular row. This is what makes this particular return fundamentally different from the previous returns that have been done. And I'm sure you will see that also when we look at the Excel option to see what is it that is making this particular year's return different from last year's return. Okay. All right. So once you have entered the total pension contribution in row number 1.1, and you have entered the pension amount that was paid between January and June 2023 in row number 1.1A, okay, then we go down. If this were the Excel option, I just want to use this as an explanation. Look at row number 2.1, that is reading employment income. That is the total taxable employment income. And 2.1A, yeah, if this were the Excel option, then we would have to enter the total amount of employment income, and then also enter the total amount of employment income for the 6 months for the period between January and June 2023. But because these amounts are drawn from the system, that's why we have 2.1A already pre-filled for you, okay, making your work a lot easier. So then your only job is to enter the defined pension contribution for between the periods of January to June 2023, okay? All right. So then for a person with disability, because you do not have, remember when we talked about section A, yeah? I hope you can see this. Initially, it was not editable, but you would actually come and enter the taxable amount here, the allowable tax exemption in the case of a person with disability. And in that case, we know that it's up to 150,000 per month. Now let's go down to the personal relief also. Personal relief is that amount that is granted by the government for you that is not taxable on a monthly basis, and it is 2,400 shillings per month, coming to 28,800 per year. And that is the amount that we would come and enter here. So that will be 28,800 shillings. Now, we cannot enter a value that is greater than 28,800. Assuming I enter the value like 1,000, then the system will indicate that the personal relief cannot be greater than 28,800. And at this point, I appreciate that there are some people that are filing their returns for prior years. There are some people that have not filed their returns from as far back. And those that have not filed their returns from as far back, you understand that some people might not be sure about what the personal relief was at that particular period of time. Yeah, there was a period of time, it was 13,744, and then it changed to 16,000, and so on and so forth. The system is smart enough to prescribe for you the rate prevailing at that particular period of time. So you don't need to worry about it. So that is it about the personal relief. So then look at the tax due. This particular person is in a what we call a refundable position, okay? The row number 4, the last row here, is the due or refund due, and it's amounting to 26,385.65. So assuming this was the accurate case, assuming that this was the accurate case. So in this case, assuming this was the actual, so we'd have to go back. Just give me a moment. Let's go back. Section A. Under the bank details, remember I had mentioned initially, it's not up until somebody is in a refundable position. And that is actually the case. And as you can see, you now have an option of entering the bank details, and the bank details are available here, okay, all the way to the end. So you can choose any bank Or you can choose the option of M-Pesa still. You can select the option of M-Payment and then select the branch name as M-Pesa. Okay. And then the town, let's assume it's Nairobi. And the account name, we would take the name of this particular taxpayer. So let's call them taxpayer. And then the account number, we take the telephone number of this particular taxpayer. So let's say it's 0700 000 Are those too many zeros? Well, it's just for the purpose of demonstration. Okay. So I hope you have seen that this particular area only becomes editable once somebody is in a refundable position, and you can choose the different banks that are available here. So let's go back to where we were. That is the tax computation section, which is section T. Okay. So then after we have entered all the information, all we need to do is counter check before submission with our P9s to ensure that the information that is both in the system, that is auto-populated by the system, and that which we have entered ourselves are accurate. Always remember, before submission, go back to the various tabs, confirm, counter check with your P9, and actually confirm that the pay deducted is what is on your P9, the taxable salary is what is on your P9, the gross income is what is on your P9, the details of pension contribution done is actually what is on your P9, as well as the personal relief and any other. Yeah. So at this point, just for the purpose of demonstration, before we submit, let's look at the option of those that have insurance policies. And in this case, we mentioned 3 policies that are applicable: life insurance, health insurance, and education policy that is up to 10 years. So then in this case, the question, do you have a life insurance policy? And we say yes. Okay. So what has happened when we have said yes, we have gotten an additional section, which is section L. And this is where we have the computation of insurance relief. Now, remember that beginning last year, we began including the details of NHIF for those that contributed in the year 2022 for last year's return. That's when we began adding it in the return, following the changes of law that permitted it to actually also qualify for the 15% insurance relief. Same thing is applicable this particular year. So then that would mean that we need to enter the PIN of NHIF for those that made the NHIF contribution. So your employer made the NHIF contribution on your behalf for the year 2023. Remember, the NHIF's PIN is in the public domain. You can actually get it online. If you just type NHIF PIN, you can get it online, and it is available in the public domain. And in this case, let's just type in the PIN and assume that we want to enter this particular PIN. The details are also available on our KRA website. We made it available for all of us. The PIN is 0510 232D. Okay, so this is the PIN that belongs to NHIF for those of us that make NHIF contribution. And then, of course, the name of the insurance company will auto populate once you enter this particular PIN. So this is NHIF. Type of policy, we have life, education, health, and NHIF. Now, if you have a life policy, you would choose the first option, which is life, and enter the policy number, as you can see. And then you would specify who's this policy is for. Is it for yourself? Is it for your spouse? Is it for your child? Okay. If it is for your child, you would have to enter the age of the child or children. Some of us have multiple insurance policies, and you can claim the 15% insurance relief for all the policies. So if you have more than one life policy, once you have entered all the dates, including when the policy commenced to the maturity date, to the sum assured, to the annual premiums that you paid, which is accumulation of the monthly premiums. And then once you have entered the details, the system will compute the 15% insurance relief. Let's just do this as an example so that we can proceed. Let's say this is let's say this particular policy started when, let's give it maybe 2 years ago. So maybe it began on 1st of January 2021, for example. And then let's say it's running for the next 10 years, maybe to the 1st of December 2031. Let's say the amount insured was, say, 1 million shillings. And maybe the annual premiums that are being paid, perhaps it's 240,000 shillings. You see, the amount of insurance relief has been computed and calculated by the system as 36,000. So you would add that. And you've seen the details have actually been populated below. So let's say apart from the life policy, we have something else. Let's now look at NHIF itself. So this is the PIN, and then the name of the company automatically shows up. You would do the same for educator. You would do the same for educator. Let me just enter a random policy number. And let's say this is for your child. And let's say the child is now 10 years. And let's say you started this policy on maybe 2018. Okay. So assuming this policy ends before 10 years are up, let's say it is ending in 2026. Yeah. Now I've used this one purposefully just to demonstrate why the education policy must be at least 10 years and above. The system says maturity date 1st of January 2026 should be at least 10 years after commencement date if the type of policy selected is education. So then that means if you have a policy that is less than 10 years and it is education policy, you cannot claim insurance relief for it. But if it is more than 10 years, so let's say a particular policy was maturing at 2028, yep, and you see the system accepts it readily because it's 10 years. Sum assured, same amount, talk about 1 million shillings, and then the annual premiums paid, talk about the same amount. Perhaps you're contributing 20,000 per month, then you're able to add the education detail. Okay, all right. So then lastly, let's talk about health insurance. So health insurance, we'd enter the PIN of the insurance company and then enter the policy number. And let's say this belongs to your spouse. Commencement date, perhaps it's something that started last year, 2022. And then let's say it matures after a number of years, in this case, 2030, for instance, you assure the same amount. Remember, this is just for the purpose of demonstration. And you paid 240,000. Okay, so finally, let's look at NHIF now. I hope you have seen how you can claim your insurance relief. So let's put in the PIN of the insurer. And then this is NHIF. You have your NHIF number. And this is for self. So commencement date. This one is normally, just give me a moment. Okay, I just needed to move it a bit on top so that we can be able to see it clearly. All right, so what is in for us in as far as NHIF is concerned is the amount of the premiums that were paid. Yeah, the premiums paid in the course of the month and cumulatively annually. What was the sum total of the annual premiums paid? So assuming the amount paid was how much? Let's say 300 and if it is, in fact, I just want to do a quick calculation here. If say somebody contributed for the year 2023, 1,700 per month for 12 months, then that would make it 20,400. Let me just revise this amount to reflect something that is near real, 20,400. And the amount of insurance relief is has been computed. And we go ahead and add the details. Remember, for NHIF, what is most important is just the annual premiums paid. So for the rest of the information, they are not really necessary. But the annual premium is what is important. So that's it. So then after that, then we go ahead. Remember, we've said that we have confirmed that the details are correct and a reflection of the truth. And then we go ahead and submit. So the question is, are you sure you want to submit? We say, okay. And give it some time because it is submitting. So after submission, this is what will happen. You will get what is called an acknowledgement return receipt generated. So download this particular receipt. Let me stop sharing my screen so that I can share the particular return that has been downloaded. I'm sharing my screen in a moment. I'm just opening that receipt so that I can be able to display it and show the details of that particular receipt. So assuming this was the actual receipt, this is how it would actually look like. So allow me to now just share my screen to demonstrate how this particular acknowledgement receipt looks like. Okay, I hope that is now visible wherever you are. So this is how it would look like. At the top, it's acknowledgement receipt, and then all the way it would have a summary of the things that have been entered, the details that have been entered based on the P9, and it would have the total at the bottom. That is row number 11, the tax due, which was amounting to 86,385.65. And yeah, that's how the acknowledgement receipt looks like. And that is actually how filing with the ITR or employment income option looks like. It's actually simplified and it's actually quite simple for those of us that might have never used it. You might want to try it this particular year. Remember, the only thing that we said is a little different this year from last year is that you would have to do a computation of how much pension you contributed between the month of January to June. So I mentioned that I would want to show you how P9 looks like, and I just want to display it for us. I hope you can be able to see it. I'm just displaying it in a bit, but at this point, I would like to welcome your questions, that if at all you have any questions, please indicate them on the chat box. I'll be picking them shortly so that we can be able to answer your questions. So then, let me see.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you very much. I can see some of our colleagues have been able to answer some of the questions on the chat, but we have some questions from KRA TV. I don't know if you can allow me to answer ask a few of those.
Yes, please go ahead, Sharon.
Okay, so we have a question from. We have one question from Kevin Maish. He says, "Does AHL have a relief?"
Sorry, please come again with the question, Sharon.
Kevin Maish is asking, "Does AHL have a relief?" I don't know what Kevin Maish meant by AHL. I don't know if Kevin Maish is still watching, if he can probably clarify what AHL is. But the next question again, Annie Rungu says, "Good morning, KRA. Have you prepared representation for persons who only earn an income from sole proprietor, whether it's a service provider or from the sale of goods? I'm a sole proprietor in the service sector."
Okay. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Annie Rungu, for that question. Indeed, she's talked about being a sole proprietor and talked about, she's asking whether we have prepared a presentation for those that are earning income from sole proprietorships, where whether somebody is a service provider or they deal with some form of goods. That's a good question, Annie Rungu. That was not our key focus today. However, I'll answer your question. Yeah. If you are a sole proprietor like yourself, and then it means one, the key thing for you would be proper records kept from January through to December, so that you can be able to track and trace and know what your income was and know what your expenses were. Okay. And then with that, we would use those particular details from your records to now fill it in the Excel option in the return, so that we can compute how much it is that you are meant to. It's not focused for today. However, just for the purpose of clarity in terms of responding to your question, I just want to demonstrate this before I project the P9 that I wanted to show our taxpayers. This is the income tax Excel option. Okay, this is how it looks like. You download it from the iTax portal or from your website. I do not want to assume that everyone is aware in terms of how to download. I hope this is what you can view on your end. Sharon, is it
Yes, I can
Excel
see
option or is it the iTax portal?
Sorry? I can see you projected the Excel.
Okay. So for those of us that are wondering how to download, this is how you go about it. Let me just demonstrate this quickly. You log into your iTax portal as I had initially indicated, and then you choose the option of file returns, okay? And then you choose the applicable tax obligation. In this case, it is income tax rent, okay? And then you go to the next option. Now, remember, this is what we have just come from filing, but this is how it would look like. You should get a page that is indicating the income tax resident individual form, and it has 5 steps to follow. The steps are pretty simple. I read through from number 1 to 5. So under number 5, we have the actual Excel that we want to download. So I'd click on the option to download, and then once it is downloaded, go ahead to open it. So once you open it, it would look like this, okay? which is what I had initially projected. So this is what we want. And remember, this year, right now we are using version 18.0.9. What you can see under column C, which is my extreme right, version 18.0.9. So for you, Anne, and for other people like yourself, thank you that you're confirming that you can actually see what we are projecting. Then you would come and enter your PIN here. Let's assume this is your PIN number. But because you're an individual, then in this, I would change your PIN number to A. Remember, this is not an accurate PIN. It's just for the purpose of demonstration. That was NHIF's PIN. I've just edited it a bit. And then you choose the type of return as original. And then we choose the return period as 01/01/2023. And then we choose the return period 2 as 31st of December 2023. Okay. So for your case, what you would want, Anne, is this row number 9 that has the question, do you have any income other than employment income? In your case, you would say yes. Okay. And saying yes has its implications, because what it means is that additional hits would appear at the bottom. As you can see, I know it is currently being projected in your screen and you can actually see it. So what's of interest for you is what was the nature of your business? And was it a service? Were you a consultant? Or were you actually in business in terms of selling your goods? Whichever the case, yeah, you would come to column sheet, okay, that's titled Profit Loss Down Self. I know it has a lot of information, but let that not scare you, because what you're interested in is just dependent on the nature of your business. And let me use 2 examples. If you're a professional, for example, and what you are issuing is a service, let's say you are a consultant, you're being paid based on your consultancy services, and perhaps you received even withholding certificates in the course of the year. So what you would be interested in is row number 5 or serial number 1.2. At the top, you see gross turnover for profession or consultancy fee. Yeah. In this case, if it is your business, you would come and enter how much money you received from your services in the course of that year. Let's say you received 500,000. Let's say it came to 500,000. That's the total amount that you would enter. Yeah. And after you enter under business 500,000, then rest of the columns you would enter as 0, because not unless, of course, apart from your consultancy services, you had other additional sources of income. You know, a sole proprietorship might not just be one business, it might be several. You had some interest income that was not.
I'm sorry, Brenda, we lost you there for a second. Could you
sorry.
run that? Okay.
I am sorry about that. I don't know where you lost me, but I was saying if you have any other additional source of income apart from the service that you offered, you need to enter the amounts, the total amounts. But if not, ensure that you enter zeros all the way to the last column. All right. And say if whatever it is that was your income was based on what you are selling, and over in terms of your goods that you are selling, then you would come and enter your amounts. You sold goods worth 2 million. So that is where you would enter your 2 million. Yeah. Okay. And then yes, so Anne, I can follow your conversation. You're saying that it's your only source of income. So yes, in that case, then let me remove the services. That was for the purpose of demonstrating for some of our colleagues or those that are following us who only have services that they are rendering, not goods that they are selling. Okay. So then after you enter your turnover, Then you would come to now enter your expenses. Remember, I said that it is very important for you to keep your records. It's very important for you to keep your records properly in the course of the year, so that when it comes to entering your expenses are supported by evidence. And remember, the expenses that you are allowed to enter are those expenses that were incurred in the course of generating that particular income, not just any other expense. For example, if you sell goods, yeah, and you have to go pick them from a particular place, maybe from the factories or from a wholesaler somewhere, and then you want to come and sell them in your shop. So in terms of expenses, you would pick, let's say you're dealing with shoes, yeah? You go pick them from a manufacturer or pick them from a wholesaler somewhere, and then you bring them to your shop and you come and sell them. So in terms of selling your shoes, the expenses that you incurred in terms of selling those shoes are what you will enter. For example, you might have incurred transportation costs. Yeah. In this case, you would come and look at this particular column. I hope you're looking at my screen because we have operating expenses. Yeah. So you would look for where particular expense would appear. So I'm sorry about that. Let me just do that again. Okay. Maybe you are paying rent for your particular premise somewhere where you are located. So those are rent expenses. They are relevant to generating your particular type of income, perhaps, and so on and so forth. Those are examples, few examples of the expenses incurred in terms of generating that particular income. In taxation matters, we call them allowable expenses, meaning they are disallowable expenses. Not all of them are allowable. They only need to be relevant to your particular generation of that particular source of income. So as you can see, there's a whole list of it. From what you have documented on your records, look for what is applicable. If you do not find it in this list, then you can actually type it in by yourself. Yeah. All the way to the end, you see? All the way to the end. So at the bottom here, you see other expenses that are not listed on the particular list that we have gone through. So you would type the name of the expense here. I have typed it for the purpose of us seeing what I'm talking about. You would type it here. You would indicate how much this expense was coming. Perhaps it was 50,000. Yeah. And then the rest would be 0 to the very end. Okay. Yeah. So that's it, about how to declare. And then thank you. I like that you are following and you say you have your records of expenses in place. That is good. So then after that, we come to the balance sheet. And in this balance sheet, we have to ensure that our liabilities and our assets balance out. You might not necessarily need an accountant for this. You can do it by yourself. Yeah. So here you need to enter your particular assets, whether you have land buildings, you have vehicles, furniture, and so on and so forth. So you would enter your relevant assets and also your relevant liabilities that begin from, I'm scrolling through so that you can see, from row number 4, row number 47. These are current this is it. At the top, we have the liabilities, right up to number 6, where we have the assets from number 6. So I am scrolling through. I hope you can see it. So you would enter your relevant assets and your relevant liabilities and ensure that they balance out. For those of us that are not accountants, and you're not accountants, and perhaps you cannot really account for your liabilities and your assets to a manner that balances out, then you can just ensure that what you enter is equivalent. What is the top? I'm just trying to put it in very simple language for people like Annie Rungu to understand. because she says she's a sole proprietor and she just wants to file her returns correctly. The essence of the balance sheets, for those that are not in the accounting profession, is just ensure that the liabilities and the assets are the same amount. So if you, and this is just for a case in point, if you put one under the assets, in this case I have put under 6.1, and then at the top under liabilities we also put a 1. This is for the explanation of Anne and those of us that might not be in the accounting profession. Then you realize that amount balances here. Your liabilities and your assets are balanced out. Okay, but if you understand better, then you can do a proper job and do a proper computation of your assets and your liabilities. All right. Thank you, Anne, for following. I'm reading through her messages and I can see that she's following keenly. Then lastly, you would enter any other details that are relevant to you in as far as, let's say, and you might have an insurance policy, you might have a mortgage. You know, if that is applicable to you, then you're entitled to the reliefs that are applicable there. So in this case, if you have no other thing, then you would come to the last section, which is the tax computation section, okay? And under the tax computation section, if you contribute to pension, maybe you contribute to an NSSF or to another pension scheme, then you would come and enter how much you've contributed in the course of the year. And then you come and enter your personal relief that you're entitled to. This is 28,800. And then after that, the system will calculate how much you ought to pay. Yeah. Remember, every person, as long as your income is over 24,000, should pay taxes. Yeah. For those that are in employment, their taxes are automatically deducted and paid by the employer. But if you are in business and if you are a sole proprietor, like a case of Anne here, then it means that then you pay your taxes after you have done your computation, just as we have done here. You have indicated what your income was and indicated all your expenses. So after you've indicated all your expenses, the system from the net will calculate or compute the taxes that ought to be payable. And remember, and like I had mentioned at the beginning of this particular training, is that April should be an important month for you in business and any other person in business, because we know that end of April, 30th of April, should be the deadline for making payment. So row number 14 will compute the amount payable. Remember, for me, I have not entered any expenses. I initially indicated some amount that was received and I have not entered any expenses. Once you enter the expenses, this amount in row number 14 will be equivalent to the taxes that are payable based on your net. Okay. All right. And I know you have an insurance policy. I hope you followed through my demonstration. I think I'll go through how to declare an insurance policy just in a moment. But I wanted to confirm that row number 14 should have a value, if you're in business, that is greater than 0. Okay. Should have a value that is greater than 0, so that once you click on this section, reach and validate, you can make arrangements to pay that particular amount on or before the 30th of April. Are we together? Yes, that is why any person in business, it's very important for you to keep your records properly, so that whatever expense you declare is supported by receipts, is supported by proper documentation. Now, to answer Anne, even as the moderator guides from here, I'm sorry, I might have taken some bit of time to respond to Anne, and I can see that she's following. She says that she has understood, is that if you have an insurance policy and you're using this particular option, then what to do under the basic information section, okay? You scroll down. I hope you can see what I am projecting. Yeah. Let me just move this a bit so that you can see it better, because I want you to look at row number 13. Yeah, I think it's visible. Row number 13 here asks to have an insurance policy. And the insurance policy is the same as what we discussed. Yeah, we said there are 3: life, health, and education policy that is over 10 years. So you would come to row number 13 and say yes. Okay. And then once you have said yes, then we go look for the tab that has education policy that has additionally come the seat that has computation of insurance relief. So this is what we are looking for. Okay. Thank you, Anne, for following through. So it's the same thing. Yeah, what we did for the other demonstration that I did, you would come and enter the PIN. I'm assuming, let's say your insurance policies, NHIF or whichever insurance company, yeah? So you would come and enter the name of the policy here, the name of the PIN of the insurance company would be column A. Column B would be the name of the insurance company. And then you would choose if it is NHIF, for example, you would write NHIF here. And then of policy, the 3 that we had mentioned, you have a drop down from, so you can choose either, okay, that is applicable to you, and then choose the option of NHIF, okay. So this would ask you to enter your NHIF number. So once you have entered your NHIF number or the relevant NHIF, the relevant insurance policy number, okay, whether be it life, be it education and health, taking into consideration that education must be within the parameters of 10 years and above and not less. And then, of course, you choose whether it's yourself, it's for your spouse, or for your child. So once you have done that, then you just indicate the annual premiums paid. Remember, that's what we said is most important for NHIF. And I think as I'm saying that, I'm also answering a question that I saw by Daniel Kyoko, who was asking, how do I fill in the NHIF relief? I hope you're seeing what I'm talking about. This is actually how you fill in the NHIF release. Remember, Daniel, we said that the NHIF PIN number is available online. If you just Google the word NHIF PIN right now, it would either take you to our KRA website where we had indicated in the year 2022, the NHIF PIN, just copy it from there and use it, or it will appear online. This is how it is. Or you can take it down if you want from here. This is actually the correct one, P051 099 232D. That is P051 099 232D. Okay. All right. So once you're done and you have entered the premiums that you paid in the course of that particular year, let's say you pay premiums even up to 50,000, then the system will calculate the 15% insurance relief. In this case, it's 7,500. And then you can now go to finish filing your returns. That is under the tax computation section. Yeah. Confirm again before you validate. Validate is almost you're getting to the end of filing, you're almost at the point of submission. So again, counter check your books and the details that you have entered to see whether or not you might have made an error somewhere. Just ensure that your figures are correct, right? So then after that, you click on validate like I have. And once you validate, you give it some time because the system has to take time to just validate the details that you have entered. All right. So then,
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Sorry for that. Brenda.
It's okay. Yes.
Okay. I'm seeing a lot of engagement on the KRA TV in terms of the question, and I can see Anne is really following up. The AHL by Kev Maish, he clarified what AHL means. It's the Affordable Housing Levy for 2024 and part of 2023. So Maish was asking if it has a relief, if it has a relief on that. So if you could answer that one, probably as we continue. Also on the sole proprietor, I can see a related question that was asked by Charles, and he's saying that I'm currently capturing my allowable business expenses on Excel. Some of these expenses are not teachings or teachings compliant, while all my sales are teachings compliant. So I hope he's hoping that is sufficient. So probably you could touch on the allowable business expenses and the eatings, how they go hand in hand. And if there's also a similar question also on our KRA if the expenses can also be captured for sole proprietor or they're only limited to the company. Uh, but then the question is by Elias Wadia. So if you can combine that also in the explanation, that would be good. Yes.
Thank
Brenda?
you so much. Yes, thank you. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you so much, Sharon, for that. And I appreciate the engagements that we are receiving. So I just wanted to complete this particular demonstration of how to file. Let me just complete it before responding to any other question. That once you have to validate, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. This particular message should pop up. Sheets are ready to be uploaded. And the question reads, do you want to generate upload file? So for your case, you would click yes. And then the system will tell you that you will find the zip file here. Now, in all the cases, the zip file automatically goes to your My Documents folder. Yeah. So once you say okay, this particular zip file will go to your Documents folder. Let me stop sharing so that I can demonstrate what I mean. Once it goes to your My Documents folder, at the point where you need to upload it, yeah. Let me reshare quickly. Okay, so I'm sharing the screen again. This is where you come back. Remember, you still are logged into your iTax portal. Okay, so remember we have come from filing this return. So the option of filing an original return does not exist in this particular return because we just filed. But assuming we had not, the type of return here would be original. Yeah, in this case, reading amended. So for us, we would enter the return period from, that would be January 1st, 2023, and then the return period 2 would auto populate. So then here we would go to the My Documents folder, and I hope it's visible. I don't know what you can see on your screen. Let me just confirm what you're seeing. It should appear. I don't know. Can you view it?
Yeah, I can view it and I can see it.
You can see the documents and how the zip file looks like. Good. That is good. Thank you. Yes. So this first one, this is the zip file. This is how it should look like. This is a proper zip file. Okay. So you would choose it, click on it, click on open, and then after that, you agree to the terms and the condition by clicking on the box. Then after that, you submit. But then I cannot submit this because it's not an amended return. This should be an original return. Yeah. So after that, once I submit, that would be it. Yeah. If you would have successfully filed your returns, and okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that, Brenda. We also have a few other questions from the Zoom live. So I can read, or Brenda, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Sharon, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So let me ask one question. That's from Bernard. And he says, hello, sometimes persons with disabilities get an error to file returns, especially if an individual has more than 2 certificates renewals. Has this been rectified?
Okay, I hope I can hear you clearly, Sharon. Your voice was not very audible, but...
Okay, I'm sorry. So the question is by Bernard. The question is by Bernard, and the question states, "Hello. Sometimes persons with disabilities get an error to file returns, especially if an individual has more than two certificates renewals. Has this been rectified?"
Thank you, Bernard, for your question, and our sincere apologies for the challenges that you might have encountered at the point of filing your returns. Bernard is referring to those people that file returns with more than one certificate, meaning that in the course of a year, their certificate expired and had to be renewed. So in that case, they have two certificates. You should be able to file your returns even with those two certificates without any challenge. I think, Bernard, if you're encountering any error, perhaps you can reach out to us specifically so that we can be able to file for you or even offer you support and see exactly where that challenge is. Remember that our call center is now available to offer support. That is, you can get in touch with us through our email, send your exemption certificate and your P9 if you're employed, or your details of business if you're in business, or details that are relevant to you through our contact center, that is call center, CALL. Center ends with RE at kra.go.ke, or get in touch with us on 07 0711 099 999. That is 0711 099 999. The call center details are available online on our KRA website. So here, where I am, I hope you can see below what I'm projecting. We have our call center details there. So you can use either of this information to get in touch with us, Bernard. Thank you. Thank you for your question. Sharon, would you want me to pick out questions from the Q&A, or how would you advise we go about it? Because I see you had initially a question also by Charles.
Yes. So we have a team also answering the questions. So you can pick out the questions from the Q&A. As once you're done with the Q&A questions, then I can read out the KRA TV questions, if that's okay. Brenda?
Yes, that is very much in order. Thank you so much, Sharon, for moderating very well. So then I will perhaps speak to the questions that have not been responded to, and I think my team who are available online that are responding the questions. So the ones that have not been responded to, let me just respond to them. Charles Opil is saying, I'm currently capturing my allowable business expenses on Excel. Some of these expenses are not eTeams or Teams compliant, while all my sales are eTeams and Teams compliant. I hope that is sufficient. Okay, so you are talking about capturing your business expenses on Excel. He's pointed out an important thing, that is on eTeams generated invoices. And on that, I will just read out what is in our public notice regarding the invoices that are eTeams compliant. But for the year 2023, Charles Opil, I think you can go ahead and file your returns here by capturing your allowable expenses. Some that are eTeams and not eTeams compliant, because we're talking about for the year 2020, 2023. That should be okay. Yeah. Towards the end of this, I will just read out the public notice that was available in the public domain regarding onboarding of eTeams by end of March, the year 2024. This is for the purpose of generating of invoices for this particular year 2024. I don't think it was really a question by Charles. I think it's a sentiment, not unless you would want to make a follow-up on that. Martin is asking what happens to taxpayers who have employment income and other sources of income. For example, they have rental income and they also have consultations like consultancy fee. This is a very good question, Martin. Thank you. If you have more than one source of income, then number one, you cannot use the first option that I was explaining earlier, which is using the ITR for employment income only option, which was the online option or online portal option. For this, you would have to use the Excel option. And remember, for the Excel option, you can declare as many incomes as you have as possible. I have swapped my screen to the Excel option. I don't know whether you can view it from here. Let me see whether it's visible. But let me just stop sharing. You can declare all sorts of income that you got in the course of the year, be it employment, be it rental, be it business, be it consultancy, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So in this case, the important row to look at is row number 11. Do you have any income other than employment income? And I went through explaining how you declare it. Yeah. If you have, in addition to the business income, you also have employment, you're employed, yeah, and your employer has deducted and remitted pay to KRA, then this is what you're going to fill out. We have already done a tutorial on the same, so perhaps I will kindly channel you to our KRA TV YouTube page. It's just one word, KRA TV. Remember to like and subscribe. We've had demonstration even as early as last week on Tuesday again, how to file using the Excel option. So you can go through it systematically because these are the details that you would need to enter to the end, okay? And then validate as we had initially talked about. For you, just in summary, I might not go through it in detail, but let me just say it in summary because you are following, and I appreciate that you are keenly following, is that what is important for you if you are employed are this particular section. But let me just remove this for a while. It's important if you have other sources apart from employment, you would say yes. Let me say no, just to demonstrate what you do if you want to declare your employment income, okay? So in this case, you would fill in, it's closing up, so let's give it a moment. You would fill in sheet number F. Sheet number F has employment income details. I hope you can see this because it's already come up. This is what I'm talking about. And here, what's important is your gross pay, okay? And then sheet M, these are details of pay deducted. What is important here is your what we call your taxable salary, the tax that is payable on that taxable salary, and the pay deducted. Don't worry so much. This information is captured very well in your P9. When we say taxable salary, we just mean your chargeable pay. Yeah. Remember, not every pay is chargeable to tax. You don't pay taxes on your entire gross salary. We have to determine what can be subjected to pay deduction and what is not. For example, your pension, the amount that you contribute to pension is not taxable, yeah? So we would take the amount that you contributed to pension and deduct it from your gross pay, yeah? If we are determining your taxable amount. We would also take the pay, the personal relief, because personal relief is 2,400, we would deduct it to get the amount of pay that you ought to pay, yeah? So a detailed explanation was given in the earlier trainings. Kindly allow me not to go through that now because it would take some time so that we can respond to the other question. Martins, I hope I have answered your question. For rental income and for consultancy fee, you would exactly what I did for Anne's demonstration is what you would do for yourself. Yeah, you would, after filling in your employment details, then you would say yes on this row number 7. Once you say yes, assuming, let me take out the two things that you have pointed out. You have said rental income and you have said consultancy fee. So for consultancy fee, what you would do, you would take this particular profit and loss section B And then you would come all the way to the top and look at 1.2, which is row number 5, and that is gross turnover of profession or consultancy fee. So what you would need to do there is that you would need to enter the amount. Yeah, you would need to enter the amount. So let's say whatever amount that was, it was 1 million, that is what you would enter. And this is under business. So assuming that is not the only thing that you did. So let's say you had some bit of rental property, and which was beyond the threshold. So you would come and enter your rental income here as well. So you see the row allows you to enter. The row allows you to enter as many entries as possible. You are not limited. Yeah, I'm just trying so that you can see you can enter as many entries as possible. So Martin, that's how you go about it. Naomi asked, I have been filing my 2023 pay with the wrong KRA PIN. How do I rectify this, which is filed by my employers? Filling my 2023 pay. Naomi, I think your question is not very clear. Are you an employer? Are you an employee? When you say filing my 2023 pay with the wrong PIN, you might need to clarify that. Maybe you can get in touch with us and just clarify that particular question. Kevin Joga says, how do you file income tax for someone with withholding tax? That's a good question. For withholding tax, this is Kevin, and I like that the question came in early. It means, Kevin, that you were with us when I was discussing how to file for business income for Anne, who had asked a similar question. Now, the only difference for you when you have a withholding certificate is that after you have filled in this particular profit and loss account section, where you have declared your gross income and you have also declared your expenses, and then you have also filled in your balance sheet, you with a withholding certificate, what you need to do is go to the last section, which is section T, and I hope you are following closely. Section T, what is of interest to you is row number 25, or what is called 13.4, okay? And this is where you come and enter details of the withholding tax that was you credit that you got for that particular year. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're in consultancy, yeah, and you know consultancy withholding tax for consultancy is 5%. So after your consultancy services, maybe you gave out maybe 3, 4, 5 in the course of the year 2023. So there's accumulate a total amount of withholding tax credit that you will have received in the course of that year. Every person that deducted and remitted to KRA, that amount is what you come and enter here. So let's say you have a total amount of, and the system will always tell you, if you don't the records, you don't have all the certificates with you, then the system can actually tell you how much it is that you have in total to credited to you as withholding credits. So let's say you had 80,000 in terms of withholding credits. This is where you come and enter it, okay? This is where you come and enter it. So in summary, for you with withholding tax certificates, number 1, you go to the basic information section. You say yes to row number 7, whether you have any other source of income other than employment, all right? After that, number 2, you come to sheet B, that is the profit and loss account. You enter your gross income from the consultancy you give or from the businesses you engaged in, and also the expenses. Number 3, you ensure that your balance sheet is balancing in terms of your liabilities and your assets. And if you're not really an accountant, you are not in a position to properly balance them out, just ensure that the figures that appear on the assets are the same as what appears on the liabilities, so that it does not become challenging to you. And then lastly, you come to the tax computation section under row number, we said 13.4, okay? We said 13.4 is what you need to be on the lookout for, which is talking about withholding credits. That is row number 25. you come and enter this withholding tax amount here. Yeah. So for you, if at all you will have a tax due in row number 14, make sure that that amount is paid. After you finish filing, then we need to learn how to generate a payment slip, which I will demonstrate before the end of this particular training. And I hope that answers your question. That is it. Josephat, if you were previously put on VAT special table, okay, hence not been able to file nil returns, what will thereafter? Will you still be penalized, Josephat? This is a VAT related question, but I will answer it, Josephat. If you are put on VAT special table, then for that particular period of time when your PIN was under special table, it means that you were not able to file returns. And as a result, you will not be penalized, okay? For specifically that particular period when the PIN was under special table. I see a follow-up question still by Josephat is asking, if you are currently employed and religiously filing your pay returns, can you opt out of VAT obligation? Josephat, if you are employed, first you have to understand that pay and VAT, these are mutually exclusive tax obligations. They are not related in any way. So if you VAT is applicable for you if you fall under certain categories of people. And one is if your turnover is over 5 million annually. Yeah. So when you say pay, I think you mean income tax. You pay your taxes depending on where you fall. Okay. If you're employed and your employer is remitting your taxes under pay, that is different. You might be employed, but again, you have a business and your business has a turnover of over 5 million. Then in that case, it means you need to have both, and they are mutually exclusive. They are not related, so that the employer will just pay the pay as they are supposed to. And then you, because you have a business that has VAT with a turnover of 5 million, you will continue paying your VAT as you ought to. Isabel is asking, in other incomes, I thought on rental MRI, monthly rent that is collected is final tax. Thank you, Isabel, for your question. I'm just scrolling through. I just want to make sure that I'm within time. So yes, you are actually right in this sense. Yeah. And I just want to clarify that MRI with effect from 1st January this particular year, the rate changed from the initial 10% to now 7.5%. Okay. So, and yes, like you are indicating that it is a final tax, meaning that it is not accounted for again after you file for it on a monthly basis. However, we have to clarify something, Isabel, that this is applicable to persons whose rental income fall within a certain threshold, okay? So that for rental income, for example, if your rental income is above 15 million, yeah, then in essence, it means that you are not within the threshold to qualify for monthly rental income. In that case, that moves you to the annual, what we call the annual regime. That is why you saw the option of annual, or rather rental income in the types of businesses. And that is why some people actually account for their rental income on an annual basis and not on a monthly basis. Wow, I hope I'll be able to finish this because I think I'm almost done, Carol. Demonstrate how to file returns from salaries only. I think I did that particular demonstration. Child's appeal. I see a lot of questions on wives' income, etc. Does this assume that there's no husband depending on wives? Sorry about the wordings. It's just how the returns are structured in the systems, but yes. I see the nature of your question. If Onamu is asking, if I have employment income to 7 months, then I retire and I am paid my dues with gratuity, which filing system should I use, the Excel or ITR? Thank you, that's a very good question. If you are paid gratuity, you have retired in the course of the year, then you do not use just ITR. You cannot use it actually. You need to use the Excel option, because the Excel option has the option for you to declare the gratuity paid. I kept quiet a bit, because I was looking at how your P9 would look like in the event that you got gratuity. And in this case, I believe that the gratuity will be factored in your P9. Yeah. I think you should also be able just to use your ITR for employment income only. If perhaps you can share your P9 with us so that we can advise, because if the gratuity is already taken care of in your P9, then in essence, you should be able to use the ITR option as well. Yeah. Caroline is asking, hi, we kindly request your team to train insurance agencies, noting they are on commission and doing business with a number of underwriters. I'm sure it is a different ballgame altogether. I agree, Caroline, I agree. And we normally meet a lot of them. Thank you. And I see that a colleague of mine is typing the response, but we've taken note, Caroline. Thank you for your suggestion. Hilalium and Sons. I think this should be among the last questions that I'm responding to, and then I hand over to our very able moderator. Hilalium and Sons is saying, I am Teams registered. That is the tax invoice management system. So all my output invoices are from Teams machine. Okay. How do I handle outputs that have not been generated through Teams or eTeams kindly? So Hilalium, your question is in relation to what? To filing your income tax returns? Is it for the year 2023? Is that where you are targeting with your question? I think you need to give clarity for that so that we can give a response. Is it in relation to your income tax returns? Yeah. Just give a clarity on that, and then we shall be able to answer very clearly your question, because you're saying your Teams registered, and so your output invoices are all from the Teams machine. I mean, your input. So all my output invoices are from the Teams machine. So how do I handle outputs that have not been generated through Teams or eTeams kindly? Please clarify. Yeah, please clarify that so that I can answer your question accordingly.
They have they said it's in relation to income returns. That's the clarification. Hilalium and Samson said in relations to income returns.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. I think, Sharon, let's pick other questions from KRA TV if there are any, because I want to read out the public notice that was put out in as far as Teams and eTeams generated invoices are concerned, so that we can get clarity exactly what the public notice was referring to. I think that will give clarity to Hilalium and Son and other people that might have it's important because, companies are filing their returns now in the month of April, so that we can give clarity as to their returns. There are questions to do with return filing.
Okay, thank you very much. So as for KRA questions, we have a question by Gilsam. Gilsam is saying, unfortunately, I don't know, I entered the wrong dates for the period on what I received an amnesty certificate and help. So Gilsam got an amnesty certificate, and he probably doesn't know why he got the certificate. And He's worried. So you can answer him on
Thank
probably
you.
what the certificate is about.
Thank you. That's a very good question. Actually, it's a very, very good question. I'm actually looking through to see who was it from. Oh yes, this is Gilsam. All right, let me just address the issue to do with the KRA tax amnesty at this point. Now, KRA, or rather the government, through the Finance Act of 2023, offered Kenyans tax amnesty or forgiveness of penalties and interests from September 1st, the year 2023, to June 30th June 2024. What in essence it means is this, that one, for people that have no, it's called principal taxes, yeah, no taxes to pay, then it means that as long as they have filed all their returns from 2022 going backwards, all the penalties that will accrue as a result of late filing, they will qualify for this. It's called tax amnesty. You will be forgiven. And then once you are forgiven, or rather these penalties are removed from you, you will receive what is called an amnesty certificate. An amnesty certificate is a certificate that is a confirmation, an attestation that indeed you have enjoyed the amnesty, you have actually enjoyed the forgiveness of the penalties and interest. And I take this opportunity to really urge as many of us as are aware or are not aware, please take advantage of this tax amnesty. If you know of persons within your circle, within your groups, within your families that have not filed their returns, then please encourage them to either come to our offices or take time to file their returns. All the way moving backwards, 2022 moving backwards, all those returns, all those penalties will be forgiven. And then especially for those that have outstanding principal taxes, for whichever tax obligation, be it income tax, VAT, turnover tax, rental income, and so on and so forth. For prior years, when I say prior years, I mean December 2022 moving backwards. Please urge them to take advantage. And I like that this morning, I was speaking to a taxpayer who had unpaid rental income from the year 2021. And I advised him, same way I'm advising you, is that you take advantage of this amnesty, because if you have what we call principal taxes, that there are taxes that were due that you were supposed to pay that you did not pay, then what this amnesty says is that as long as you pay those particular taxes only, yeah, then every other penalty and interest accrued because of the non-payment, they will be waived. And for people with VAT, pay, MRI, rental income, you understand what that means. It is a big reprieve and relief. But we only have a limited time, up to 3 months to take advantage. We are in the month of April. This amnesty is running out as soon as it gets to the end of June 2024. So just to answer your question, Gilsam, we'd have to, you might have received the amnesty certificate because of either late filing of returns that were not done earlier. And after late filing, the system, once we initiate in the system, for every person whose returns are filed late, then you instantly receive a waiver of that particular penalty and you get an amnesty certificate. So yes, I believe I've answered Gilsam's question.
Yes, you have. And as we wind up, the last question from Elias Waria, it says, do tax computations for allowable and disallowable expenses apply to sole proprietors or just companies? Deducting WDV and adding back disallowable expenses? That is Elias's question.
Okay, thank you. Elias Waria, Do tax computations for allowable and disallowable expenses apply to sole proprietors or just companies? It applies to both. Yeah, we would look at the income tax. That would be, but we would not talk extensively about that. I think you need to stay tuned for our subsequent trainings that are coming up, so that we look at the Income Tax Act, Section 1516, talking about the allowable and disallowable expenses, so that you can get your question responded to in depth. Alas, I would kindly indulge your patience on that, so that once we are going to do a training specifically for allowable and disallowable expenses, considering this is the month of April, and we will have a focus on that for both sole proprietors and companies, you can be able to get your question responded to in full. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Brenda, for that training that we've been able to have. And for the questions that you've been able to answer, we continue to thank you for that. As we wind up the session, I'd like to urge all the people who've joined us today to log in to KRA TV, so that you can get the session. If you joined in a bit late, you can get the full session on KRA TV, among other sessions. I have seen a lot of eatings questions, a lot of withholding tax questions. All this information is broken down in the KRA TV, and you'll get the tutorials there and other training sessions. So we do this every Tuesday at 11 and Thursdays also at 11. So for Tuesdays, we have filing Tuesdays till the last Tuesday of June, and we have tax Thursdays every week at 11. So please ensure you like, share, and subscribe. For everyone who has joined, it's a very big thank you for the questions you've been able to answer. Thank you very much. For those who've not been able to answer, you can get all this information on KRA TV. I repeat, KRA TV is the repository of all this information, and usipitwe, just log into KRA TV, all the questions, all the answers, you'll find them. And this particular session is actually live right now. I'd like to give a big thank you to everybody who has joined us and everybody who has been able to ask questions. Thank you very much. And also, as I wind up, take advantage of the tax amnesty. And so that you can start under a tax amnesty. So thank you very much. At this juncture, I'd like to close the session. Again, thank you very much. And yes.
Maybe before you close, because I remember I needed to read out a public notice because of some of the questions that were answered here, so that we at least have tried to answer as many as possible. There's a question that I saw on KRA TV of somebody asking about the affordable housing levy. And they asked whether they will be, I can't remember exactly who it is from, but they asked whether they will be entitled to a relief. I think there's a question like that on the KRA TV. Yes, kindly just respond to that particular person, because KRA did put out a public notice to taxpayers, and in that public notice, KRA did inform the members of the public that the Affordable Housing Act 2024 designated KRA as the collector of the affordable housing levy, all right? And then that public notice went ahead to give specific details. For example, with effect from 19 March 2024, that is when all employers are required to deduct the affordable housing levy from the employees. And then it went ahead to give the percentages, the 1.5 percentages. And then in relation to the question that the particular taxpayer asked, there's a section in that particular public notice that indicated that resident individuals, and I'm just quoting it verbatim as it is, that resident individuals who pay the affordable housing levy shall be entitled to the affordable housing relief. Yeah, that is what the statement was, that resident individuals who pay the affordable housing levy shall be entitled to the affordable housing relief. And I think that goes ahead to answer the question that they had in terms of relief for the affordable housing levy. Lastly, there was that particular public notice that was put out regarding onboarding of non-VAT registered taxpayers on eTIMS. I think it's important we just touch a bit on these issues because they are emerging. We are talking about return filing today, but I've seen questions on eTIMS that have come up. I just wanted to read it out just from the public notices as they are. I have been, well, what I will ask, perhaps let them share with us. Okay. I'm sorry, Sharon, I'm taking some bit of time. I was trying to just read it as it is. But even as I do that, for Isabel, who has been trying to declare the NHIF relief, remember the details of NHIF, you don't need the commencement period and the maturity date. Yeah, all you need is the annual premiums that have been paid. I don't seem to trace that particular public notice now, Sharon, but it is in our KRA website under public notices where we have onboarding of eTIMS registered taxpayers. The clarification was given there in as far as when taxpayers need to have this particular invoices that are generated through electronic means through the eTIMS software or the Teams device. I would just direct them to please go and read. I know time is not on our side, but please kindly go and read, especially for the sole proprietors and companies who are interested in filing their 2023 returns. More details will follow in the subsequent trainings that will come because we'll focus on the companies and the sole proprietors. Thank you so much, Sharon. That's it for me, and have a good afternoon.
Okay, thank you very much, Brenda. For all the questions, thank you very much. As we proceed to this filing season, please ensure that you file your returns on time. Recommend your best. File today. Don't wait for 30th of June. File today. Thank you very much. And the session is now officially over. Asanteni sana.